The air inside the GMA studio felt heavy before the cameras even turned on. The crew moved quickly, adjusting lights, checking sound, while the audience murmured in anticipation. We're there for a special panel discussion, one that was supposed to be light and engaging. But from the moment Joy Behar walked in, her expression was already set like a storm was coming. KeanuReeves sat quietly at the end of the couch, wearing a simple dark jacket and jeans. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes carried the same calm focus he always had. He wasn't there to promote a new movie. The producers had invited him to talk about community projects he was funding, something he rarely discussed publicly. The segment began smoothly. The host introduced the guests, the cameras panned, and the lights glared bright. Joy jumped in early, leaning toward Keanu with a sharp smile. "So Keanu, I hear you've been spending a lot of time and money on, let's call them small causes. Aren't you a little too big of a star to be wasting your time on things no one's ever heard of?" The audience gave a small, uncertain laugh. The host shifted in her seat, sensing the tension but unsure if she should intervene. Keanu single quotes his gaze remained steady. "I don't think kindness has a size," he said softly. "And the people I help, they're not small, they're just unseen." Joy chuckled, but it wasn't friendly. "Sure, but you could be doing something big. Something important. You could be building a hospital with your name on it instead of, I don't know, fixing old playgrounds or paying off someone's grocery bill." There was a pause, just long. Enough for the weight of her words to settle. Keanu leaned forward slightly, his voice still calm. "To the child who plays in that playground, it is big. To the family who doesn't have to choose between rent and food, it is important. The size of the act doesn't make it more valuable than the impact it leaves." The audience clapped softly, some nodding. Joy glanced at them, clearly annoyed. "That's nice and all," she said, "but let's be real. You're in Hollywood. People expect more from you than handing out feel-good moments." Keanu took a breath, his eyes never leaving hers. "Hollywood isn't my measure. Humanity is." The room fell silent. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes when people are bored. It was the kind that draws them in, like they're afraid to miss the next word. The host tried to steer the conversation back to neutral ground, but Joy wasn't done. "Look, I'm not saying you're a bad guy," she continued. "But maybe people call you humble because you avoid taking on real responsibility. You do small things, so you don't have to face the big ones." Keanu didn't react immediately. He sat with her words, letting them land. Then he said, "Or maybe the small things are the big ones. Maybe the greatest responsibility is to see the people no one else sees." This time the audience applauded louder. Joy's jaw tightened, and she leaned back in her chair. The segment was supposed to last another 10 minutes, but tension filled every second. The producers in the control room exchanged glances. They could sense something building. Then Joy spoke again, her voice sharper now. "So tell me, Keanu, when was the last time you actually made a difference? Not just for one person, but for the world?" Keanu's answer came quietly, but it carried through the entire studio. "This morning, I said good morning to a man who told me no one had spoken to him all week." The world isn't changed in speeches, Joy. It's changed in moments. Words seemed to hang in the air. Joy stared at him for a beat, then took off her earpiece and stood up. Without a word, she walked off the set. The audience gasped. The host froze, unsure how to respond. Keanu simply sat there, calm as ever, as if walking away wasn't the end of the conversation. It's only the beginning of something else. What no one knew was that Joy's walkout would trigger a chain of events. Outside the studio, one that would bring both her and Keanu into an unexpected fight for the same cause. Asterisk the moment Joy disappeared behind the stage curtain. The control room exploded into quiet chaos. Producers whispered into headsets. The director motioned frantically for the host to keep talking. And the camera operators kept their lenses on Keanu as if he might suddenly react. But Keanu didn't rush to fill the silence. He just sat there, hands resting on his knees, the same calm expression on his face, as if nothing unusual had happened. The host, still flustered, cleared her throat. We'll be right back after a quick break. The cameras cut. The bright red tally light faded, and the studio exhaled in confusion. A young production assistant hurried over to Keanu with a bottle of water. "I'm so sorry about that," she said softly. "She's having a day." Keanu gave her a small smile. "We all have those." He stood, stretched slightly, and glanced toward the exit where Joy had vanished. "Where's she gone?" The assistant hesitated. "Probably outside. She doesn't usually walk out." That was new. Without another word, Keanu walked toward the backstage hall. Crew members stepped aside, surprised he wasn't heading for the green room like most guests would. He found the side door propped open, letting in a strip of sunlight outside. Joy stood by herself near the loading dock, her arms folded tightly, her face turned away from the street. She didn't look up until Keanu stepped out and let the door close behind him. "Come to lecture me some more?" she asked without turning fully. Keanu shook his head. "No. I came to ask if you're okay." Joy gave a dry laugh. "You think I stormed out because of you? Please." He leaned against the wall a few feet away. "Maybe not because of me, but something made you walk away." She looked at him then, her eyes sharp but tired. "You ever get tired of people expecting you to be something you're not?" Keanu's answer was quiet. "Every day. But I decided a long time ago to give them something else instead. The truth." Joy looked away again. "You make it sound simple." "It's not," he said. "But simple and easy aren't the same thing." There was a long pause. Cars passed in the distance, their sounds dull against the thick city air. Finally, Joy sighed. "You know that playground you were talking about earlier? The one you fixed?" Keanu nodded. She shifted uncomfortably. "I grew up 2 blocks from a park just like that. My mom worked 2 jobs. The only safe place she could leave me was there. When they tore it down, they never built another. I guess maybe I wanted someone to build a hospital so no one would forget her." Playgrounds felt small. Keanu studied her for a moment. "It's not small if it saves a child's day, or a parent's peace of mind. Sometimes the world doesn't need a monument, it just needs a place where a kid can feel safe for an hour." Something in Joy's expression softened, though she didn't admit it out loud. "Maybe I came at you harder than I should have." "Maybe," he said with a small smile. "But sometimes you have to push to see what someone's made of." She smirked faintly. "Guess you passed." Before either of them could say more, a man in a delivery uniform approached the loading dock, holding a clipboard. "Excuse me," he said. "Are either of you KeanuReeves?" Keanu stepped forward. "I am." The man handed him a small, sealed envelope. "This was dropped at the front desk for you, no sender listed." Keanu thanked him, and the man walked away. He looked at the envelope, plain white, but with his name written in a shaky hand. He opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper with just one sentence written on it. "Stop helping her, or you'll regret it." Joy frowned. "Her? Who's her?" Keanu folded the note slowly. "I think," he said, "we're about to find out." Joy stared at Keanu, her brows knitting together. "Are you saying this is about me?" Keanu didn't answer right away. He studied the paper again, the uneven handwriting, the faint smudge where the ink had bled like it had been written in a hurry. "I'm saying someone thinks you need help, and they don't like that I'm giving it." Joy's voice lowered. "That doesn't make sense. I don't need help. I host one of the biggest shows on TV. I can handle myself." Keanu slipped the note into his jacket. "Maybe this isn't about your career. It's about something else." Joy's lips tightened, and for the first time, there was something in her eyes besides stubbornness, a flicker of unease. She turned away, gazing down the street like she was deciding how much to tell him. "There's something," she admitted quietly, "something I've been getting messages about for weeks. I thought they were just from trolls online. Now, maybe not." Keanu's voice stayed calm, but there was an edge to it. "What kind of messages?" "Stuff about my brother," she said reluctantly. "He's in trouble, has been for a while. Debts, bad business deals, you name it." Someone wants me to pay up or watch what happens. I ignored them because I figured they were bluffing, but maybe. She trailed off. Keanu nodded slowly. And now they see me with you. Maybe they think I'm going to help. Joy crossed her arms tighter. Look, I don't want you involved in this. It's my mess. That's not how this works, Keanu said firmly. If someone's threatening you, it's not just your mess anymore, especially if they're bold enough to leave notes at a live studio. Joy let out a frustrated breath. You're making it sound like this is dangerous. It is dangerous, he said simply. And if we ignore it, it'll get worse. Before Joy could reply, a shadow moved at the edge of the loading dock. A man in a gray hoodie stood there, half hidden behind a delivery truck, pretending to scroll on his phone. What? But his head tilted just enough for Keanu to see the glint of eyes watching them. Keanu didn't break his gaze from Joy. We're being watched. Don't look now, just listen to me. Joy froze, her expression barely changing. What do we do? Walk inside like nothing's wrong, Keanu said. Once we're in, we'll figure out where to go next. They turned casually and stepped back into the building. Keanu glanced back once. The man in the hoodie was already gone. Inside, the green room was empty, except for a table of untouched coffee and snacks. Keanu closed the door behind them. Who else knows about your brother's situation? Just me, him, and one friend who tried to help, Joy said. Why?
Hey.
Because whoever sent that note isn't guessing, Keanu replied. They know exactly what's going on. And if they're watching us in person, they're close. Joy sank into a chair. You think they'll come after me? Keanu's voice was quiet but certain. I think they already have. And now? Joy, we have to decide whether to wait for them to make the next move or make it ourselves. Her eyes met his, and for the first time since the on-air argument, there was no sarcasm in her tone. Then we make it. Keanu nodded once. Good. Because whoever's behind this is going to find out that walking away isn't the same as backing down. What neither of them knew was that by agreeing to fight back, they had just stepped into a trap, one designed to break them both in different ways. Keanu sat across from Joy in the quiet green room, the faint hum of the vending machine filling the silence between them. His mind was already running through possibilities. Who would benefit from scaring her? How they knew about her brother, and how the note had made it past studio security. Joy broke the silence first. You're awfully calm for someone who just got threatened. Keanu's gaze was steady. Panic doesn't help. Clarity does. So what's your clear plan? She asked, leaning back in her chair. First, we find out exactly who's after you, Keanu said. And to do that, we make them think they've scared us into hiding. Joy raised an eyebrow, thick being scared. Not really my style. You don't have to like it, Keanu replied. You just have to sell it. They think you're backing down, they might get sloppy and show themselves. Before Joy could respond, the door opened and a young intern stepped in, holding a small paper bag. This was just dropped off for you, Ms. Behar. No name on it. Joy and Keanu exchanged a look. Keanu took the bag, opened it carefully, and pulled out a single playing card, the Queen of Hearts. Scribbled in red ink across the face of the card were the words, Last Warning. Joy's breath caught. This is getting theatrical now. Keanu slipped the card into his pocket, or desperate. People who want control don't waste time on drama. Unless they're trying to send a message they can't say out loud? Joy's voice dropped. What do you think it means? I think they're telling you they see you as something valuable, Keanu said, and they're warning me that. If I keep standing next to you, I'll be holding that same value in my hands. And that makes me a target. Joy sat forward, her tone losing its edge. So what now? Keanu's eyes were calm, but sharp. We make them come to us. Later that evening, they left the studio together, making no effort to hide from the paparazzi waiting outside. Keanu stayed close to Joy as they walked toward the parking garage. He could feel the weight of unseen eyes following them. In the dim concrete space of the garage, their footsteps echoed. Joy's car was parked in the far corner, and as they approached, Keanu noticed something. The driver's side door was slightly open. He stopped her with a hand on her arm. Stay here. He walked ahead, scanning the car. There was no one inside, but on the driver's seat sat another envelope, this one thicker. He opened it. Inside were photographs. Joy at the grocery store. Joy leaving her apartment. Joy. Sitting in a cafe with an older man who looked nothing like her brother. Who's this? Keanu asked, holding up the photo. Joy's face paled. That's my brother's friend, the one who tried to help him. I haven't seen him in months. Someone wants you to think he's involved, Keanu said. Or they want you to wonder. If you can trust him, as he spoke, a loud metallic clang echoed through the garage, the sound of a heavy door slamming shut. Keanu turned quickly, scanning the shadows. We're not alone, he said quietly. Joy swallowed. What do we do? Keanu took a slow step forward, his voice calm but firm. We keep walking like we're not scared, and we wait for them to make the first mistake. What neither of them realized was that the first mistake had already been made, not by them, but by the person following them. And that mistake would reveal far more than a threat. The sound of footsteps echoed through the parking garage, slow, deliberate, not trying to hide. Keanu glanced over his shoulder without turning fully, catching sight of a figure moving between the concrete pillars. The man was tall, wearing a baseball cap pulled low, and a dark jacket that blended into the shadows. Stay close to me, Keanu murmured to Joy, his voice low enough that only she could hear. They kept walking toward her car, the tension stretching tighter with each step. Keanu unlocked the door with a click, but instead of getting in, he used the reflection in the side mirror to watch the man's approach. The figure stopped about 20 feet away. Ms. Behar, the man called out, his voice calm but edged with something cold. It's time you stopped making this difficult. Joy froze, but Keanu stepped slightly in front of her. And you are? The man ignored the question. You've been warned twice. This is your last chance. Walk away from this, or we won't just come for you. His gaze flicked to Keanu. I will come for him too. Keanu didn't move. And what exactly are you so desperate to keep her from doing? The man's jaw tightened, talking, digging, helping the wrong people. Joy's voice trembled, but her words were sharp. You mean helping my brother? The man gave a thin smile. Let's just say your brother owes people who don't forgive. And the more you stir things up, the harder it's going to be for him to stay breathing. Keanu's eyes narrowed slightly. Then maybe we need to have a different kind of conversation, somewhere less public. The man tilted his head. You think this is a negotiation? No, Keanu said, his tone quiet but unshakable. I think it's your warning that you've already gone too far. For a moment, the garage felt frozen. Then, without another word, the man turned and walked toward the far exit. Joy let out a shaky breath. What was that? Intimidation theater? Keanu shook his head no. That was him testing us, seeing if we'd fold. Now he knows we won't. They got into the car, but instead of driving straight to Joy's apartment, Keanu directed her to a small, quiet diner on the edge of the city. They slid into a booth in the back, away from the windows. We're going to need information, Keanu said. Names, debts, everything your brothers told you. And I need to know about that friend in the photo, the one in the cafe. Sighed, his name's Leo. He's been close to my brother since they were kids. He tried to pay off some of the debt, but then he disappeared. I thought maybe he left town. Keanu leaned forward. Or maybe they made him disappear. The waitress poured them coffee, then moved on. Keanu pulled the Queen of Hearts card from his pocket and placed it on the table. This means they think they own you, that you're already in their deck. But we're going to change that. Joy stared at the card, then at him. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Keanu gave a faint smile. By making them believe they've already lost you. And once they think you're out of play, we'll find out who's been shuffling the cards. What neither of them knew was that the next move wouldn't come from their enemies. It would come from someone they thought they could trust. Asterisk. The diner's quiet hum was broken by the faint chime of the door opening. Keanu didn't look right away. He just glanced at the reflection in the silver napkin dispenser. A man in a dark coat and knit cap had stepped inside, scanning the room before heading to the counter. Joy followed Keanu's gaze. You think he's one of them? Not yet sure, Keanu said, his voice steady. But we're about to find out. They stayed in the booth, pretending to be caught in conversation while keeping the man in their peripheral vision. He ordered a coffee, but instead of drinking it, he kept glancing at them in the reflection of the front window. Then Keanu's phone buzzed. The number wasn't saved, but the message was short. "He's not your enemy." Keanu showed the screen to Joy. "Someone's watching us right now," he murmured, before Joy could respond. The man at the counter stood, walked straight toward their booth, and slid into the seat across from them without asking. "Leo." Joy's voice cracked. It was him. The same man from the photos left on her car seat. Older, thinner than she remembered, but unmistakable. "Joy," Leo said, glancing nervously around the diner. "We don't have much time. They think I'm still working for them, but I'm not. I've been trying to keep them away from your brother. By disappearing?" Joy's tone carried a mix of relief and anger. Leo leaned in. "If they think you're looking for me, they'll come harder. I had to make it seem like I was gone." He looked at Keanu. "They don't know you're involved yet. That's your advantage." Keanu's eyes were steady. "And what exactly are they after?" Leo lowered his voice. "Your brother has something they want. A ledger. Names, amounts, dates, ties. People you wouldn't believe to illegal money laundering. If that ledger gets out, they're finished. If it doesn't, they'll keep hurting anyone connected to him until they get it back." Joy exhaled sharply. "Any ledger, because he knew you'd be a target," Leo said. "But now, thanks to that little stunt on GMO, they've noticed you anyway. And if you don't play this carefully, they'll make an example of you." Keanu leaned back slightly, his voice calm but decisive. "Then we make an example of them first." Leo shook his head. "You don't know how deep this goes?" "I don't have to," Keanu replied. "I just have to know that fear is their only weapon, and I don't scare easily." For a moment, the table was silent. Then Leo slid a small folded piece of paper toward Keanu. "This is where you'll find the ledger. But once you take it, they'll know someone's moved it. You'll have one chance." Keanu took the paper, tucking it into his jacket without looking. "Then we won't waste it." Outside, the sky had turned the deep gray of approaching rain. Keanu and Joy walked to her car, Leo disappearing down a side street in the opposite direction. Joy looked at Keanu. "You really think we can pull this off?" Keanu met her gaze. "Joy, this started with you and me arguing on live TV, but it's going to end with them realizing they picked the wrong people to threaten." As they drove off toward the address on the paper, neither spoke. The road ahead was uncertain, the risk enormous, but the choice was already made. Sometimes the most unexpected. Partnerships are the ones that stand the strongest when the storm comes.